everybody. Thank you for coming out. Horrible cold night, but there you go. Probably have more of those before it goes the other way. So, we've got apologies for absence from
Councillors Akhtar and Tennyson.
Okay, urgent business, I have none. Declarations of interest, if anybody's got a declaration of interest, please declare it and add it to the appropriate form, which Liz has available here. Public question time, I have not received any public questions. Minutes of the previous meeting, minutes of the meeting are attached. Are there any issues of accuracy on those minutes? In which case, can we agree them as a correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you. Now, the next item on the agenda is the draft performance and value for money select committee minutes on the administration budget proposals 10th of November.
I move them, Chair.
They've been moved. Can we agree them?
Agreed.
Okay, I think we're agreeing to note them, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Item 7, medium-term financial strategy 2017-18 to 2020-21. Policy, landscape and forecast budget gap update. Speak to that.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. This is budget time again, I'm afraid, folks, and it doesn't bring, I'm afraid, any good news. So what this paper does is actually sets out how we've come to identify the gaps in funding for the financial year 17-18 to 2021. It deals with all the key issues nationally and locally, and it also indicates how we've used those factors to arrive at the saving figures for each of the 4 years mentioned in the paper. If I can, Chair, bring to your attention the autumn statement. We were hoping that Mr. Hammond, under Mrs. May as the Prime Minister, might give us a Christmas present, given that local authorities have suffered terribly under the austerity measures. Well, unfortunately, he didn't. Am I surprised? I am, because clearly there's been a major issue around adult social care, and nationally the LGA is saying there's a minimum gap of £2.9 billion that's required to provide decent adult care to people across the nation. And yet, despite intense lobbying, the Chancellor chose not to make a single comment on it, which I find extremely disappointing. That this is the pressure that we deal with on a regular basis because of the growing demand, and yet when he had the opportunity to comment on it, he didn't. I'll say a little bit more about that in terms of what it means for us later on, Chair, if I may, with your permission. So these figures in the report are at this stage preliminary because we yet to receive the provisional local government finance settlement. Now that's scheduled for either the 8th of December or the 15th. Given the recent history of government, I'm minded that they'll leave it to the last possible date, which will be probably 15th of December. Now, of course, they will then confirm the resource available to us, including the grants, and if there are any new money that's available to the Council, we will use that to finalise our budget position. But at this stage, Chair, what we've done is used best possible estimates in the report to work out the gaps for next year and the subsequent years. The total amount of saving required for the 4 year in question is £53.823 million. And the prime reason for that is the reduction in revenue support grant. you'll see that there's been quite significant reduction each year. So last year £10 million, this year 10 million, and again 17-18 we anticipate it to be 10 million as well. So we started off with 13-14 with £85 million, which is the main grant that we get from government, but this year it's just over £40 million. So that's where the problem is. Now then, in terms of adult social care, you'll recall the government last year gave us a precept that we could levy locally to raise additional funds which would be ring-fenced for adult social care activities. So we did that last year, 2%. That gave us just over 1.5 million. But at the same time, when the national living wage was introduced, £7.20 an hour, it cost the authority £2.7 million. So just one policy change didn't actually cover the money that we needed. So there was a gap. So next year, from April, 1st of April 2017, the living wage will increase from £7.20 to £7.50, and that will bring an additional pressure to this council of £2.445 million, which is detailed on page 45. Now, again, if we chose to increase the council tax and levy 2% precept for adult social care, bear in mind we'll just get over £1.5 million, then it leaves us £900,000 gap. And this is so disappointing that it's a national issue, it's a national policy the government is trying to push through, which is the national living wage, which we support of it, and personally I think it's too low, but yet they're asking local authorities individually to pick it up locally, and particularly it's unfair for a deprived authority like ourselves. So I think, Chair, this is quite a detailed report. Happy to take any questions, but when it comes to recommendation, then there are two recommendations which requires, this is on page 22 of the report, requires delegation to myself, the Exec Director for Commercial Services, and the Finance Director in relation to a business rate pooling and also business rate pilot scheme. So happy to answer any questions. Obviously, the Director of Finance is here, as well as the Exec Director for Cooperative and Commercial Services.
Any comments? Jenny?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it is a comment rather than a question. It's just to add my deep disappointment to that Abdul's already expressed, that the Chancellor didn't take the autumn statement as an opportunity to support authorities like ours, where year on year we're having to look at options for financial saving that are beginning to cause real distress to the people of our borough. But also to thank the financial services for the support that they've given to us. But there is to think that the precept would go anywhere near solving the problems that we're facing in Oldham just shows a complete misunderstanding of the kind of thing that we're up against in Oldham, where year on year increasing pressures and year on year reducing budgets are causing distress. Thank you.
Well, just to add to that, I mean, it's just outrageous that in the autumn statement there was absolutely nothing said about a £2.9 billion gap that is a national gap. It's a national issue that should be addressed by national government from the taxes that they take in from income tax, rather than pushing it down to local authorities to raise the money from their council tax, because it's totally inequitable. It's totally unreasonable to expect local authorities like this one to be able to raise anywhere near enough money to be able to address this issue locally. And because councils in poorer areas like this one have so much less ability to raise the levels of funding that we will need, and it's not going to get any better, it's going to get worse, presumably. We need there to be a national position on this, and we need the government to fund it. We were hearing before the autumn statement that there would be something in the autumn statement about this issue, and then it seems like right at the last minute the decision was taken to just completely ignore the issue. Well, ignoring it's just not good enough, because it's a massive problem, not just for this authority but for others, and it's about people. So, do we agree the report? Agreed. Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the medium-term financial strategy administration budget proposals.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So, as I said in the previous item, so the gap for 17-18 is 20.315 million, and what this report does is sets out how we intend to achieve that gap. So, this report presents to you the first tranche proposals that we've taken to PVFM, and we've been out to consultation. So it identifies £7.012 million of saving. There's a typing error, Chair, in that executive summary first paragraph. It should read 7.012 million. So out of the 44 proposals that we've taken to PVFM, we're recommending that 37 are approved tonight to go to Council on the 14th of December, and the total amount those 37 equates to is £6.147 million. That then leaves a gap of £14.168 million, which we will bring the details of after we've got the provisional local government finance settlement. It will go to the PBFM meeting in January, and then it will also come back to Cabinet during January and February to finalise the number required to produce a balanced budget at the 1st of March Council meeting. Again, Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions people have got. I mean, this report details every single proposal and is accompanied by an equality impact assessment where it's necessary. So this has gone to the pre-VFM, and they have scrutinised all the proposals, and they've given their feedback on them. The one that they wanted a bit more time on, 4 of them, we are not recommending that they go forward to the council on the 14th. We'll consider them at a later batch. Again, Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions, and clearly there are other officers here as well who will be able to contribute if there are any technical questions that I can't deal with.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Treasury Management Half-Year Review, 2016-17. Abdul.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a statutory requirement that the Council has to consider the way we manage our Treasury management function. So this is a half-yearly report which sets out how we have performed over the last 6 months. And also in the recommendation, we're asking for some changes to the KPIs and inclusion of a new investment area, which is green energy bonds. We'd like to include that for future investment. It's quite a technical report, Chair, so any question on that, I'm going to direct it towards the Finance Director. Thank you.
So with that, are there any questions? Complex or otherwise? Okay, thank you. So the final item on the agenda is the proposed council tax reduction scheme 2017-18. Abdul.
Okay, so this one hopefully is a straightforward one, Chair. You'll recall that from 1st of April 2013, the government made it a requirement for each authorities to set up a local council tax reduction scheme. We've operated one since then. We've got to approve a new scheme for the financial year 17-18, and it has to be approved by the full council. So this report sets out our scheme, and essentially what we're asking for is to continue with the scheme that we have, which is we give a discount of 85% on band day. Again, I'm happy to answer any question. People will be familiar with this scheme. And any question, I'm happy to answer, Chair.
Any questions from anybody? In that case, that's the whole of the business. Thank you for your attendance. Cabinet members and deputies who are here, sign.